Imagine building your mortgage business to 100 million from zero in just 5 years. Well, today's guest has done just that. And we have a fantastic conversation that's going to flip your mindset on what's possible and even how you look at your business. We talk about why hiring more agents is probably the worst way to scale. We talk about how one 15-minute phone call is all that she needs to power 500 plus deals a year without burnout, and how a $10,000 decisions help Renee buy back 100 days a year with her family. This is one of the most inspiring conversations I've had in a while. I absolutely love my conversation with Renee. And if you want to get an opportunity to learn from Renee, I'm working with her right now on putting together some training on how she did this, because frankly, this is an exceptional result, but she's done some things that are exceptional. When I asked her where she got the ideas, she said, just listening to the podcast. And I took those ideas and I implemented them. And it's amazing to me how many great ideas come through these. But then the great part about somebody like Renee is they put it into a simplified system that you can use to scale your business. Before we jump, and at the end, I'll talk to you about how you can actually get on that list and when we roll this out together. Before I jump into that, I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor. OwnWell is a really cool tool that you can use as Canadian borrowers with your clients. It lets you and them monitor their home equity and their buying power on a monthly basis. And when set up, you can get open rates of 60 to 80%, creates tons of conversations around what they can do with their home. And this is an amazing tool. It's been available in the US for a long time, and it's now finally available in Canada. Check them out at ownwell.com or .ca/ILMB. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you at the end. Hey, Renee, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the mortgage biz.
I did commodity trading for about a decade before I dove into mortgages. And then I started buying a bunch of residential rental real estate after I took eternity leave from commodity trading, as my husband affectionately calls it. And during that time, I bought a bunch of residential rental real estate, learned a lot about the mortgage process, and I just fell in love with it. So I decided to get my license.
And then back out of commodity trading. So I'm going to ask you more about commodity trading in a little bit, and talk about, you built an amazing business. So if you don't mind sharing, so like how many files did you do last year? You're 8 years in the business right now.
Yeah, so we funded 326 files last year.
Right. And what's your goal for this year?
500.
500, yeah. And you're obviously you have a team, and we'll talk about team structure and stuff. So tell me about, okay, how do we first connect? Because when I ran into you at a conference, you're like, hey, we talked, and I'm like, and I apologize, but I don't remember the conversation, but maybe just chat about that briefly.
No, it's super funny. I called you, I think it was the 10 loans a month program came out, and I was a brand new mortgage broker, diehard listener to the podcast, and was like, oh my God, I got to do this. And so I called you and I was like, Scott, I'm doing all these things that I want to join 10 loans a month. And you're like, so what are you doing? You're doing this, and you're doing this, you're doing this. You're like, you know what? I think you're good. So that's it. I didn't join, and I just kept listening to the podcast.
Obviously, and you didn't need to. But you know what? As we were chatting before we turned on the recorder, the thing that I've observed about you, even in a little bit that I've got to know you, is that you've been consuming lots of ID content from different places, and you execute, which is literally, if you're listening to this, the other day I went to ChatGPT and I said, answer these with one word answers. And I said, ChatGPT, what is holding back most mortgage brokers from being successful? The word answer, inaction. Like literally the entire internet is distilled down into ChatGPT is like, and I got the, most expensive version I can get. And it's like inaction. And that's obviously not that's why one of the big reasons why you've been successful is you just take action.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things tell me about this. So like if people knew you well, they say something like the fact that you're not afraid to try things. So maybe give me an example of that. And have you always been that way? And I'm curious about that, because that comes back to the inaction, because people who are afraid don't take action, or if they get stuck in their head or they start to overanalyze. But just talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, in this business, most people that know me know I'm not scared to just throw something at the wall and try it. And that doesn't mean that, I'm just like, listen, there's been a ton of bad ideas, but it doesn't mean that I'm not analytical about it, right? So like I track and tag everything. If you ever heard me speak, I'm really big on that. Like if you want to have success in this business, you have to be tracking what you're doing. So like I hear an idea literally from somebody probably on this podcast, or somebody that shares something in a Facebook group, or somebody that I meet at MPC or whatever, and then I come back and I try it, and then I analyze like, hey, is that new thing in my scripting working? Like, did that work for me? And I keep really good data on everything, so I can say very quickly like, yeah, this works, or no, it doesn't. And I'm also not afraid to say that I'm wrong. So I think that that's been really helpful to me, is I've been wrong a lot. And when I'm wrong, I rip it all apart and we start again.
Okay, what's something that you tried and didn't work? Because I'm the same way. I've had dumpster fires. Some things are dumpster fires, and you're like, oh man. But looking back, so what's something that didn't work, but looking back, there was a lesson in it for you?
Yeah. So I, at one point in time, thought if I wanted to grow my mortgage business, that I really needed to grow it with agents, and I wanted to have salaried agents. So I was going to train people how to be mortgage agents. And so again, like, if you get to know me, you know that I'm good at one thing, and I'm super clear on that now. I'm really good at building trust quickly on the phone. So like anything I'm doing that isn't me building trust quickly on the phone is probably not going to be income generating my business. And I know that now because I have years of, tracking otherwise. But I tried to have salaried agents. I was going to train them how to be mortgage brokers just like me. It was a huge flop. I paid salaries for years, and I'm not a great trainer. I'm not a great mentor, to be awesome. I'm super great at building trust quickly on the phone with clients, right?
Right. How long did it take you to unravel that? Or like, how long did you go down that path?
I probably beat my head against the wall with it for about 18 months.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, this is a disaster. And it's a disaster for the people that I'm trying to mentor, because there's probably someone way better in the industry for them to be working with besides me. I'm not a great mentor, right?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because that's what we're into that. I mean, that part of our thing, our brokerage does is some training, and it's interesting you say that about, but it seems like a lot of people think, okay, you become a mortgage broker, you learn how to get business, you start to build up production. Then the next logical step is to bring on a bunch of sub agents, but it isn't the next logical step. For 95% of people should not do it. It
Totally.
is you will make less money and have more stress. And in 5 years, if you decide to go on that path, almost like I would say, if I talk to 10 brokers who've done this, within 5 years, most of them are like, that was a waste of time. Like I could have made more money focusing on production, build my own team around my skills and my network. And so just out of curiosity, what did it do to your income when you just switched from trying to build out this team to just focusing on your own production?
Oh, it's crazy. Like I think my funded units in the years that I was doing that were like, 198 and then 212. Then I like got completely away from that and I pushed up over 300. So
Right.
it's super interesting.
You had 100 units that you actually then, like, by changing your focus away from the thing that most people think is the next step. And it's a different skill set, as you said. Like it's a difference between being a good player and a good coach. Michael Jordan was a great player. He was not a great coach, from my understanding, because he just got, okay. So yeah, I think that's great. So then, and have you always been that way, but not afraid to try things, or is that something you've had to develop? Like, tell me about that.
No, I think I honestly think I'm not afraid to try things. And, listen, I'm going to say the obvious. Like I was fortunate. I had a great job. I'm very, well supported by my spouse. Like we make decisions together. And so like when I got into the mortgage industry, there was no like scarcity mentality where I was like, oh my God, like if I don't get another commission, how am I going to feed my family? Like I didn't have that. Right. So I actually want to make sure that people know that about me. Like I was able to take a year and say like, I'm going to really dig into like, doing research on who does this well, and then try some of this and see how it fits for me. And so I was like that, but I was the same in my other job. I think I'm the same. I literally say it to my kids with parenting. Like my son, just the other day, we had this explosion. He's driving the car. He's 15. I'm sitting beside him. And, I had said something he didn't like. And he's like, Mom, what's going on? And I'm like, dude, I've never done this before. Like I'm just throwing shit at the wall.
Right. Yeah. I've said to my kids, I've never parented a, 18-year-old or 17-year-old. Like you just insert, and I'm also figuring this out. Right. So that's good.
Totally. And so try it.
Yeah. And then
change.
Well, it's interesting in Alberta, the 50, you can drive so young. I mean, in BC now, it's like, in realistic, everybody's different, but like it literally takes till they're 18 before they're even try. It's so crazy to me, but I digress. So you said the other thing people would say you're good at is you're very honest about what you do and don't do well. Yeah. Is that something you've always been? How did you develop that?
Yeah, I think I'm hyper competitive. And so I want to get good at things quickly. Like when I worked downtown as a commodity trader, I can remember my boss went golfing with me. He's like, oh my God, you're terrible at golf. Like you're holding up the whole round. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I need to either not golf then and figure out a new way to like, make a offer for connection with these people that I'm working with, or I need to get good at golf. And so like, that was it. I took a bunch of golf lessons and got good at it so that I wasn't wasting people's time and I could efficiently build relationships on the golf course, right? Like keep up with the pace of play. And so like, I think that in this business too, I've just been like, okay, I either need to get really good at this or hire someone that's really good at it, and just be honest with yourself. And I know that I will have the best outcomes if I'm just honest with myself and super clear on this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at. And I'll have the best results for the group of us as a whole, if I stay focused on that.
Right. What did you get your handicap to in golf, or what did you, how much did you improve?
I think my best, literally I was like out of control, 130, and I got a sub 100. So I could kind of keep up with the pace of play, with good golfers.
Right. Yeah, that's respectable. So that you're 130 is a lot of strokes, because you're just like, it's like blink, 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 just limping down the course. Okay, so walk me through. So 326 files, and how much time do you talk to every client? Walk me through what you do there.
Yeah, so I talk to every client, but for a very short period of time. So I do a 15-minute intake call. Now I have, I'll talk about the underwriting fulfillment structure of my business first, and then I might talk about how I've actually found some time in other spots too. So first, I do a 15-minute intake call with that client, and then I get really clear on how we can help that client or not help that client at Spire. And then once the documents and application come in, that goes directly to my live deals team. So I have 2 underwriters and a fulfillment staff that just work on new to Spire clients. Primarily purchases, they have a COF on them, that business has its specific needs. And then I have about a 15-minute call with our renewal clients as well. And I have a renewal team, so full-time underwriter, full-time fulfillment staff that works specifically with non-new to Spire clients, where we're working on a renewal for a property that we did the mortgage, or a property that, is in their portfolio of properties where we just got to know them with a different mortgage. We obviously always try to get all of their mortgages. So
you've got you've got an underwriter and fulfillment on the new, and then you've got the renewal team as well. You do about 15 minutes. And then how else do you insert yourself in the process so that they don't forget? They're like, oh, who's Renee again? And because they're obviously dealing with your team, right?
Yeah. So I'd use video. So I send a video with the pre-approval email that goes out to the client. I reassure them about the rate hold that we've put in place. I explain how that works for them. I explain the scenarios that we've run. I often show them how to use our mortgage calculator on their website. So it's maybe like a 2 to 4 minute video, depending on what the client needs. And then I do another video once their deal has been approved with a screen cap where I show them all of their documents and let them know what to expect when the DocuSign arrives. But I typically don't get back on the phone with the clients.
Right. Amazing. And so a lot of people listening to this will be going, oh, that would be amazing. But you didn't do this by accident. And so how many files can an underwriter and fulfillment handle a month in this model? You're basically, this Peter Mathan did this years ago, if you've ever listened to that episode, and he basically does that initial planning session, and then his team takes it 99% of the time across the finish line. So how many files can one of those, is it like one underwriter, one fulfillment, or is it 2 underwriters per fulfillment, or how do you do it?
Yeah, 2 underwriters per fulfillment in the live deal teams. We have two underwriters and 1 fulfillment. And then on the renewal side, it's 1-to-1, just because the fulfillment is working, it's a little bit of a different beat there. And the fulfillment's working a lot with the clients because it's not as rushed. But what I was going to say is that it really depends on the style of business. So we do a lot of hard files, right? So I would say, they should be doing about 30 deals a month. The underwriters, between pre-approvals and funded deals, like 30 pre-approvals and 30 funded deals, but it's very hard to say. And I just want to stress that that's very different in different market types, and depending what type of business you do. If you're doing all alt business or private or AAA, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Right. So each underwriters you're saying, so that's 60 files that they'll touch, like 30 pre-approvals plus 30 funded. Probably. And they're separate. They're not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Where did you find these people?
So you know what? I'm also terrible at HR. And so I'm not suggesting this. I'm also not necessarily endorsing this, but I hired a lot of people and I did a terrible job with hiring because I am not good at hiring. I don't know anything about it. I'm not an HR person. I don't have any training.
This goes back to your other superpower, which is know what you're good at and not good at. And you knew, you're like, hey, I'm not going to, yes. Okay. So keep going.
Yeah. So I hired a recruiter, cost me a fortune, but I hired my 3 underwriters and fulfillment staff via a recruiter. They came to my office. They spent time with me. They told me they didn't like how my desks were set up at the office. Like, they gave me the most valuable feedback, and the people that they have brought to me are amazing. They couldn't be a better fit with my personality. It's unbelievable. Like, HR people are amazing, and they're so much better at it than we are.
Right. It's kind of like doing your own mortgage versus, like, if you're a mortgage broker, or, we tell clients like trust us as your expert, but yet we don't always trust experts, right? We're like, oh, we can do that myself, and
Yeah.
so we're not consistent in that. And I think you're right. HRs, because the thing I've observed with people that build scale teams like you've done, like production, I call this like a production team because it's around your production, not like a agent team or whatever. But is that if you're not good at the HR part, that's going to kill you. You're going to spend so much time with going through staff and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, recruiter, that's a brilliant idea. I'm glad I asked that question. What kind of technology do you use to keep everybody like in the loop?
Yeah. So my CRM is HubSpot based. It's 5 years of work. And I love it. It's my brain on mortgages, and we can task and tag each other. All of our email is tracked. And so at any point, anyone can cover for anyone else on the team because they have full access to all the deal notes, all, everything. And so it's been amazing. That's not even a HubSpot endorsement. It's just like pick something and commit to it. That's what I would say. Whatever CRM you're going to commit to, just commit to it. And it's just a non-negotiable that everything is tracked and tagged in there for your entire team all the time.
Right. Okay. And then with your phone calls, do you record them or do any call summaries, or what do you do with those?
Yes. So we're working hard at this. I'm testing stuff right now. I haven't settled on this. We were testing Otter AI recently. You can record calls in HubSpot. So I have started recording my new intake calls in HubSpot. But and you can record them, and then, you can create summaries with ChatGPT. So I'm testing to figure out what the best thing is. I haven't settled on it yet. But
okay. Yeah. We've experimented with a program called dialpad.ai or dialpad, which is not AI, but dialpad is a phone system that can record calls, do summaries, can record media. It's pretty good, actually. It's I got it from some friends from the US that are very big into mortgage technology, and they did a lot of research on it. So if you're looking for something that you could try it out, but the summaries are really good. And then it sends an email, and then it's like, oh, they can know what happened on that call, even though they weren't on the call with you.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Check out Dialpad. I know you'll probably have it checked out by the end of the day. Okay. So you use HubSpot. Again, you're right. Commit to this, whatever the CRM is, and just squeeze as much juice as you possibly can out of it, and your business will be better. Like, that's all you have to do. You don't need, there is no perfect CRM. And so you're going to have to, and they're all going to take a little bit of frustration in terms of learning. And did you set it up yourself, or did you pay somebody to help you set it up?
So I started with it, and then I met a guy on Fiverr, and I got to know him. If you can believe it, I just was like, struggling through it, didn't have a ton of money, and got to know him. And now he has a huge company in India, love him. And so about once every year and a half, I'll call him for like kind of a major overhaul, but most of it we do on our own, because I honestly make a change almost every day. Like, I don't really like that automated email. That could read better. That's not quite applicable in our market. Like, that's the other thing, is if you're using your CRM, you have to be just committed to making timely changes so that it can be, most effective for you.
Right. Okay. And then where does your business come from? So like, okay, we talked about your process, and you're obviously crushing lots of mortgages, but what did you do to get all the mortgages in the first place?
Honestly, I'm not scared. Like, this is stuff I've just literally learned from the podcast. Like, this sounds like an endorsement, but like, literally, guys, there's so much good stuff. Like, just go back years. But I just called realtors, like 10 realtors on Mondays, and I tried to get a coffee with as many of them as I could in my very first year. I called and called and called and called. Every single real estate thing that came to my mailbox at my house, I called every single person that put one of them through the mail. And then I figured out what kind of people like to work with me. So a lot of people that work with me don't ever want to see me. They're just like, here's a referral. Like, I don't like belly to belly marketing, and neither do they. And so it's super interesting. Now I'm very direct when I'm looking for new referral partners. Like, if it's somebody that really needs to like go for dinners and go for lunches and spend a lot of belly to belly time, that's not who I am. And they're not going to get that from me, and they're going to be disappointed in me. So it's like, I'm not seeking that kind of a referral partner. I'm seeking somebody that's like really tech driven. Efficiency is everything. 11 out of 10 client experience. And we're both just committed to our work. And honestly, it's usually people that are super committed to spending time with their family too, right? Like, I want to fund 500 deals, and I want to spend 100 days in the mountains with my kids. Like, that's my goal for this year. And that's it, So again, it's like, know what you're good at, know who wants to work with you. And if you take some notes and know,
you probably, here's the thing, you wouldn't have figured I love you're action oriented, obviously, but you wouldn't probably not got that clarity without going through that that experience, right? It's going through the experience going, oh, this is not quite right. It's kind of like shoes. You try them on, not quite the right fit. Oh, this actually is exactly, but you wouldn't know that if you weren't in this business or you didn't have this type of business before until you actually did a whole bunch of those calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And had a bunch of those meetings and realized some of them were a waste of time. And some of them I don't want to hang it. This person's not my people, and it's okay. So, but being honest, I guess, in that situation as well. So that's really good. So you just made phone calls, basically met with people, and then obviously followed up with them as well.
Yeah. And we've been like incredibly intentional with our leads too, right? Like we are referred all the time. We have a database of 10,000 people because every single person that I've ever talked to about mortgages, I've added them to my database. Like every single person. Aunt Betty, Aunt Sally, sisters, brothers, cousins, Aunt Tasha that called you about a renewal 3 years ago and they renewed with RBC anyway. So write it down, put them in your system. When's your renewal date? I'm going to take note of that. And then I'm going to follow you up with you in 6 months before. You know, like it leads are about intention, right?
Yeah. What do you do for marketing to people these people that get into your database, the 10,000, what do you do? Is there anything you do on a monthly, weekly, annual basis so that they don't forget you?
Yeah, so we try a monthly newsletter and it's very value driven. So it's like, listen, this is a specific thing going on. I do a market update. So we drop in the YouTube link. It's short and concise. And then once a year, we like buy out this old theater in town and we do a Christmas movie and we have like a diehard following that come to watch an old Christmas movie with us. But literally that's it. It's nothing. It's nothing wild. Yeah.
And how many people will come to that event?
We usually get 200.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to connect with people that actually want to do that, right? It's not like everyone, and it also matches your personality. So what are the things I want to ask you about this? Okay, so we talked about the fact that you had initially went down this path of trying to build out, agents to work under you, take a cut, realize, okay, this is not added 100 mortgages to your business, and then focused on, and then, so where did you learn all this stuff? Because when I ran into you, one of the things you said to me is that you never do go to mortgage events and then yet all the stuff you're doing is like, this is advanced stuff that most people don't do. So how did you figure all this out without, talking to a whole bunch of mortgage brokers?
Yeah. So like, I mean, honestly, there's so many places where you can, because I think like we get lost. I think in our industry, it's really easy to get lost in like spending $5,000, like flying to NPC or flying to this conference or flying to that conference, which is awesome. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money, there's so many people that they just have so much good stuff. Like follow them on Instagram, like follow Scott, follow I Love Mortgage Brokering, follow Ryan Wiley, like I don't follow Dustin Woodhouse. Like there's just a million people that have one or two ideas or hundreds of ideas about how they did it. And it's all out there already, right? And so, and like BDMs are so willing to help you and share like things that are going well for brokers that they work with that are doing a ton of stuff. Like reach out, ask questions. Like our industry, like people really are happy to talk about themselves and their success. And so I just asked a million questions.
Right. Yeah. And then you executed on it. As a lot of people get into this, again, not being afraid to try things. You just were willing to give it a go and see what happens. And some things work, some things don't. Is there any other technology that you use that you feel like helps keep you on track?
So one thing that I've done that helps keep me on track isn't technology related, but I think that this is something that is underappreciated. So I'd like to share this one.
Yes, please.
About a year and a half ago, I found that I was spending way too much time managing my email. So like I had too many leads coming in and too many phone calls coming in, and I wasn't actually able to schedule my calls out. And I was like, people were catching me when I was driving. Like it was just a mess. And so I actually hired an EA, an executive assistant that works with me 6 hours a day in my business. So like right now she is triaging my email. So I book out my call times on Sunday night. I schedule my week. And she gets into my email and she specifically schedules my 15-minute calls based on urgency. So if it's somebody with a live offer, they get prioritized differently than somebody that just wants to have a chat about a renewal coming up in a year. And so she triages my email 6 hours a day. And that has changed my life in every way. And I think that there's so many mortgage brokers in our industry that focus so much on hiring underwriters and fulfillment, but they're actually so disorganized on the front end, and so they're drowning in their email, and they're not intentional about these leads that are coming in and triaging them properly, that they could probably spend a little less money, get a lot more organized on the front end, and then actually close a much higher number of their leads in a more organized way, if they focused on organizing that front end of the business.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like a Dan Martell thing. He's like, that's one of the first things you should get is email, calendar. You're basically, they're managing your email and your calendar, right? That's the two things that allow you to just show up. And where did you learn? Where did you discover that? Or because we talked about rip off and R&D, rip off and deploy. Where did you get this insight from?
So do you know what? That one was just straight up. I track how I spend time now very intentionally. So if something is materially taking me away from the one thing I do well, which is build trust quickly on the phone, I need help. And so I was honest with myself, and I just said to myself, I need help. So we added that. And I also added a marketing person about 12 months ago. So these are like huge expenses in my business that I put in, but I mean, they've allowed me, like I'm up to now, like I think like a lot of weeks will then take like 40 new applicants, and I talk to all of them. Like 40 intake calls in a week is a big week, right? Like that's pushing me towards my goal of 500 more than editing my own reels is.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How many vacation days do you take a year?
So my kids ski race, and we have a house in Panorama. So like my kids ski 100-ish days a year, probably between 80 to 100 days. And so I'm in Panorama 120 days a year, I would say. So yeah, like I never work on the weekends. I'm taking 3 full weeks off to go to Europe with my kids this summer. Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate with the amount of time that I can take off of my business.
So was it always that way? And what changes did you make? Because people listening to this are going to some of them are going to, their jaws hit the floor when they go, what? You could take 3 weeks off and not everything be on fire. So was it always that? What were the changes and choices you made to be able to do that?
So in 2021, I had probably my most profitable year because it was just myself and one underwriter. But it was like full heart attack zone. And so I knew that's not the mom I wanted to be. That's not the wife I wanted to be. That's not the client experience that I wanted to deliver, just somebody that was strung out and overtired and stressed out all the time. And so I got really clear on that. And so I've been working to build my team to a critical size where like we actually have proper vacation coverage for each other, because I don't want my team to feel like that either.
Right.
And so it was in 2021 that I made a real decision to move in this direction. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
And is that when you went and hired a recruiter to help you with finding people, because you knew you needed to scale up your, and you also had already done some hiring to know that that's not my sweet spot?
That was in 2022, because it's just like a lot of those folks have just had their 3-year anniversary. So
yeah, but I'm saying in 2021 you made the decision. 2022 is when you decided, okay, I got to hire people and scale a team to make this work. Exactly. Okay, that's really good. How many files did you do in 2021, which is you and the underwriter, when you realized it was not going to work?
I think that was like that was like the first year where we were like 198, like just about 200, I think, that year.
Right. Yeah. So that's a lot of files with very little help. And okay, is there anything else that you do that you feel like helps you, manage the volume of business you have?
I think so. Something that I'm getting better at, we just had this discussion as a team this morning, is also saying no. And so like there are certain files that just need to go back to the bank, or aren't the right fit for Spire, or certain client types that are just not going to work and not going to feel successful. And so that's something I've been working super hard at. And I would say every year I get, exponentially better at it, is saying no to that file that is going to suck the life out of you for the next 3 weeks. And we say no to very little, but the 10 that I should have said no to each year always, they
take up so much mental. Yeah. Right. So you're getting better at it. Can you give me an example of something that you'd say no to, just so that people like that, you'd be like, yeah, that's a fast no.
Yeah. So certainly, like when we have this sounds crazy, but like we'll have a physician client that comes in, that's already banked at RBC. They've got an amazing rate quote. at the end of the day, like I'm probably not winning that mortgage. So the best thing I can do is tell them the best rates available in the market, send them back to the bank and ask for a 5-star review, for like,
Right.
we gave great information, versus, sending it to 3 different lenders, fighting with a bunch of banks over rate discretions. And at the end of the day, ending up with 3 cancellations, an underwriting staff that feels stressed out by it, and a client that's just kind of let down and that now they've sent you all those documents. Like that's something that I'm saying no to a lot more, even though it's painful to give those deals up.
They're not your deal they're not your deal. Like they're not your file. Cause like and I always describe it like it's like playing poker. You can't win every hand, but
no,
how you play the hand you can't win can set you up to win other hands. I bet you get referrals from these people, you get reviews. So you can't win them all. So don't, and you're going to just exhaust yourself and your team, and you'll be more frustrated, frankly, if you know that there's no chance of winning. So good on you for that.
yeah.
So, what about meetings? Like, how often are you meeting with your staff to keep are you working in the same office? Do you work remotely? How do you keep everybody on track?
Yeah, so I'm old school. We actually bought like a live work townhouse the year that we decided to hire all the staff too, because also in 2021 we were all working remotely, and I just felt like we weren't building bench strength. And so now people have to be in the office 3 days a week. We all come together on Wednesdays, and it's a really fast review. It's not a long extended meeting, but it's a fast review on all the live files, just so we're all up to date. We know what needs to be done, and I know what needs to be done on my part if I have to dive back into a file to try to make sure we get something back on the rails. And so, yeah, everyone has to be in 3 days a week. I like everyone here Mondays and Wednesdays, and then the other days they can kind of flex on. And that has, like, being in the same place has built bench strength like I couldn't have even imagined. Like the learning that has happened in our office in the last 3 years is through the roof. I'm so proud of it. And I would venture to say like my staff is excited about what they've learned too in that time. So
Right. Yeah. Because you guys are able to like, there's collaboration and stuff. That's good. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you think people would find useful? Any question? I mean, this has been amazing. I'm inspired from talking to you. That's for sure. I just feel like, yeah, like it's so great what you've been able to do so far.
I honestly just think ask the questions and don't be afraid to make a change. So I gave this presentation at MPC, and that's kind of where like people kind of got to know me over the last year. I've just sort of been hiding out in this townhouse for the last 7 years, but my big things were I had these sort of 5 things that I've learned, and one of them that I really want to stress is rip your process apart every 6 months. Like, don't be afraid to make a change in that client journey, in the, in your deal journey, like how you're using staff. I think it's so important. And, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we jumped on here, but like now with AI, if you are not ripping things apart at least every 6 months, you're going to get left behind because it's going to change so fast. Like
Right.
you're finished. You have to get in there, rip it apart, and get honest with yourself about what's working, what's not working, what you're good at, what you need help with. And then ask for help, ask the question, because everyone's happy to share. Everyone loves to talk about themselves. So like,
right. One question I did ask, you said something, you said you track time on stuff. How do you track time on tasks? Are you using it? What are you using for that?
Yeah. So I actually try to just note it down in HubSpot. And like, I'm super old school. Like I literally always have a notebook beside me too. Like I track everything, even my scripting. Like when I was new, I'm big on scripting, huge on scripting. I used to print out my script and like had a stack of them sitting beside me and like check off where I could feel I was losing someone in the call. Like, this isn't going to work for me. This isn't going to work for me, as you were trying new things in your scripting. And so like, I honestly even just note it down in a notebook. It doesn't have to be exact, but we try to keep it in HubSpot. Like how many touches are we having on this file? Because that's a big thing too for me. Like I know that my intakes aren't good if my underwriters need 5 touches on a file before that file gets submitted. Like I did something wrong, right? So track everything. Just track everything. If I could, that's another one of the, big things that I've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's so good. Well, this is amazing. Where can people find you online if they're looking for you?
Spiremortgage.ca, SPIRE mortgage.ca. That's me. And all my contact details are there. So they're welcome to reach out anytime.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. And hopefully you're inspired like I was from this conversation with Renee. I'd encourage you to go back and listen to this one again. It's just full of gold nuggets. And as I said before, if you want to find out how you can actually learn from Renee, I'm working on putting together a program with her. Just there's the best way to get is to get on my email list. So I got this email called the 321 email, and every week I send out the most useful stuff I can find from mortgage brokers, whether it's AI tools, tips, tricks, and it has a fantastic click through rate and open rate. So the two ways you can get on that: one, you click on this episode, there'll be a link there for you to get on the list. The second way is if you go to my social profile, so on Instagram, and you click on my link tree, there's this little thing called link tree, and it's got the links, and it just says join Scott's email list. Promise you it's not a list, it's a list you're going to want to get for emails, and that's how we're going to invite folks to come and find out and learn from Renee. Thanks again for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the answer. The goal of this podcast is to provide some of those answers. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.